What's going on, people? We are Tottenham TV, and it has been a while. Spurs got a game this weekend, finally. Been 3 weeks in the making. New manager in, Roberto De Zerbi, just taking his first press conference.
What a 3 weeks it's been.
Oh, I know, it's been blitz. Wow.
And now back to reality. We are going to have to watch Spurs play again this weekend.
Yeah, back to reality. You're taking the 4.5-hour trip up the M1.
I am.
All the way to Sunderland to see Roberto De Zerbi's first game.
Is it going to be worth it?
It will be worth it. It will be worth it. Manifest it, Sim. Manifest it.
We've been doing a lot of manifesting this year. None of it's worked.
Well, law of averages, mate. Law of averages. We've got a lot to speak about today. A lot to speak about. So let's just fly straight into it, and we'll start off with the Tottenham update. And we're going to start off talking on the team news that Roberto De Zerbi has given us in the press conference. He says he has confirmed that Vicario is not ready and he won't face Sunderland this weekend. So the direct quote was, Vicario is not ready for this game. I hope he can come back next week, but I don't know yet. So, yeah, that all but confirms it.
Yeah, and we're going to get Kinski. I'm glad for Kinski because it's horrible for him to kind of... you don't want him to hit his season to end on that note, being taken off after 15 minutes after getting that opportunity, and how disastrous it went last time. We've obviously posited, would Kinski be better for De Zerbi than Vicario? Well, he's going to get an opportunity, and I do wonder if he does really well, does he retain his spot or does he not? Hopefully he gives him a headache on Sunday with a good performance, but I'm glad for Kinski. For Vicario, he said, as you say, he said maybe next week, so it's going to be interesting what kind of condition he's in after a week of recovery. Is it going to be definitely ready, or is it going to be touch and go? I think Vicario has really struggled for form, and I think the hernia, in hindsight, the hernia has probably played a large part, especially for his shot stopping that has really gone downhill, you'd have to say, over the last few months.
Definitely, yeah.
Yeah, that's like something that's really suffered, because he's not known as a bad shot stopper, but this season that's gone completely out the window. So hopefully, once his hernia is sorted, he can get back to his best. But I'm going to be very interested to see how Kinski fares this weekend, because Sunderland, they like to play with their set pieces. They're very much a pragmatic team. They're going to try and bully Kinski, I think. Robbie's a very strong striker as well. They're going to put him under pressure. So it's going to be very interesting how he handles it. Albeit, I would say Kinski, he's usually quite brave when it comes to going for crosses and set pieces. That's not usually where I see him suffering. It's usually just shot stopping. I think he lets too many things through. And that's been a big problem of his. To
be fair, I wasn't great with his feet against Atletico.
No, but you got to say, Van de Ven slipped as well. It wasn't just Kinski.
True.
So maybe there's obviously been well documented now. Atletico's pitch is not the best. Barcelona was slipping and sliding all over the place, and they were complaining about it. So
there's one thing slipping for the first goal, but for the third goal, he basically just passed it straight soon.
I understand that. Look, it was a bad day. No getting away from it. It was a horrific day for him. And it's one that could potentially define him if he doesn't recover from it. You've seen keepers in the past. Paul Robertson, his career is pretty much defined by that mistake in Croatia. You got Karius, that his career is defined by that night in Kiev for in the Champions League final. So it does happen where it's unfortunate for keepers, because you're so highlighted with bad mistakes, because they usually lead to goals, that one moment and your whole career can be defined by it. So I'm hoping Kinski can really recover this weekend. And
see, you've already defined him by that, calling him Karius already.
I have, I know, my bad. Apologies, Antonin. But let's hope this weekend is a good one for him.
Yeah, I hope so. And, Igor Tudor did say after that mistake that he will get another shot this season. And here it is.
Maybe he knew about the hernia.
Yeah, he probably did know about the hernia. That's yeah, he knew what was coming. In terms of more team news, he says that Bentancur is working with us, but not completely. So he's basically saying Bentancur has been taking bit part in training, so he'll be back sooner rather than later.
Yeah, that's good news. Well, it depends who you ask if it's good news or not. But I think he would like Bentancur when he's at his best, but unfortunately we haven't seen that. Look, it's a constant discussion with Bentancur. Are we ever going to see the Bentancur that we saw pre-ACL? That's the reality. We haven't seen it on a consistent basis. We've seen glimpses, but unfortunately it's never been just consistently like he was. So I think, in theory, De Zerbi should like him in terms of how he plays, because I think he's quite comfortable turning on the ball more than most of our other midfielders. and as well he offers that bit of defensive solidity off the ball. But it's all about getting him back to his best, isn't it?
Yeah, absolutely. He also went on to state just how much of a loss Kudus is, because he was kind of like hoping on him, and he thought he has world-class abilities in that forward line. Away from the press conference, just a few things that we noticed in the pictures is Bissouma back in training, so he's probably going to be available for selection. And Pape Matar, on the back of his injury on international duty, he was back in training. However, he did have quite notable strapping on his shoulder. So whether he's going to be playing or going to be a doubt this weekend, we don't know, because he wasn't mentioned in the press conference.
No. Yeah, or maybe he's on the bench, or we'll have to wait and see exactly the situation with him. He didn't mention that he's out, so I'm assuming he's going to be available. But I think he could be an important player for De Zerbi as well. I think, as I mentioned as well, I think Bissouma, right now, of the midfielders that we have, is probably the most perfect. But it's interesting hearing him speak. He was talking about how he's not giving too many principle instructions at the moment. It's all just kind of basic stuff, and it's all about mentality at the moment. And if he's focusing on that, it's interesting who he turns to in times of need. Is it going to be a Paulinho? Is it going to be a Bissouma? If he's looking for different things right now in the situation we're in, so that's going to be quite interesting. I think we're going to learn a lot from the selection on a Sunday, exactly where Zerbi's head's at.
In terms of some potential transfer news, we spoke about James Trafford yesterday. There's been some further news on him. The chief writer of the Manchester Evening News says that James Trafford, as it stands, will be leaving Manchester City in the summer. So that's quite significant. And the Mail are reporting that James Trafford's price tag has been set by Man City at around 35 to 40 million pounds. So that's kind of what we were suggesting yesterday as well. So if you can get a Vicario out for 25, 30 million, go spend 35 to 40 on James Trafford, then I think that's probably going to be the direction of travel.
Yeah, I think he'll probably be our first choice. Obviously, other ones for Bruggen and Roofs, I think, have been the Sunderland keeper have been posited as well, suggested. Obviously, maybe Robin Roofs will have a bit of a trial this weekend because coming up against De Zerbi, and he's had a very good season, hasn't he? And he's quite young, so he's one I think a lot of people are looking at. I think Trafford, there probably is going to be more competition for him than the other ones. So whether, obviously it depends what division we're in. If we go back down, I don't think he's spending another season in the Championship, Trafford. But if we stay up, you're probably looking at potentially Newcastle. I wouldn't be surprised if Villa look at him, because Emi Martinez tried to leave last summer. Will he try to leave again? I think there'll be a few clubs looking at him. So it's going to be more difficult, but hopefully De Zerbi has some pulling power.
Yeah, it's interesting with James Trafford, because you would think that he's probably the future England number one, isn't he? You're looking at Pope there, not getting any younger. You've got obviously Jordan Pickford, who's been number one for years, but he's not getting any younger. You'd think probably James Trafford is the next in line, isn't it?
Yeah, you've got Dean Henderson, he's probably in competition with. Obviously, Ramsdale is there, but he's not really convinced. Ever since his early days at Arsenal, he's not really convinced, is he? He's lost his place to Raya. He's never been, then went down with Southampton, and he's second choice to Pope at Newcastle. So
We are back. Sorry about that, guys. Just had a malfunction with the computer here, but we are back and we are here to stay. So where were we? Where were we? We were talking about
Trafford, number one.
Potentially James Trafford. We could bring in the future England number one.
Yeah, I think a lot of players, when you come to Tottenham, I think you know there's going to be a lot more attention on you. So I think there's always a bit more of a pathway to England when you're at Tottenham rather than a lot of other clubs. So I think that definitely plays in our favour. But I think for Trafford himself, he's going to have to be playing regularly in the Premier League if he wants that number one spot. And I think Tottenham is a good location. But then again, I think if Villa or Newcastle come in, I think they're also, especially if they're in Europe, would also be good locations for him as well. Yeah,
it's very true. Very, very true. But it looks like he's definitely on the move this summer. Yeah. Let's talk about Andy Robertson. I thought we had potentially heard the last of it when Thomas Frank had left the club. However, Paul Joyce yesterday says that Tottenham remain interested in Andy Robertson, and one of the several clubs alerted by the news he'll be available on a free this summer. And David Ornstein dropped the bomber earlier today, saying that Tottenham are in pole position to sign Andy Robertson this summer, subject to retaining their Premier League status. The 32-year-old fully focused on Liverpool, so nothing finalised, and also interest from Europe. But Tottenham are the leading contender to do a deal if they avoid relegation.
I thought, I was similar to you. I thought with Frank gone and wherever, now we've got Zerbi, I didn't think we were going to revisit this. But then I was thinking, when he was at Brighton, he did sign James Milner. So he definitely values, even an older head with a bit more experience for, Brighton were full of younger players and inexperienced players in the Premier League. And I think definitely Milner helped the group when he was at Brighton. And I think Milner's a bit different because he's very versatile, can play in a few different positions, whereas Robertson is purely a left back. So he's competing in one position, whereas Milner, I think, could fill in a few things, gives him a lot more value. But I think he liked having that experience around. So maybe he's looking at Robertson thinking, we could do with someone like that in the dressing room. I think similar reasons why we were saying under Frank. I also think, in a weird way, not being in Europe probably makes a bit more sense to have someone like Robertson, because I think if we were in Europe and we're having to play every 3 days, and then let's say we have a doggy and he gets injured, and then Robertson's only left back and he's playing every 3 days, I think that's a big problem, because I think him at his age, from what we've seen, I think he's struggled for consistency. He can't really get those big performances out the bag on a regular basis anymore. But now we're not going to be in Europe. We're now playing, mostly one game a week with some hopefully some domestic cup games in between. If a doggy does get injured, I'm less worried about Robertson stepping in and playing one game a week than I would be if he was having to play 2 or 3 games a week and burn himself out. Whereas maybe even at his age, 1 game a week, he might be able to be all right in that situation. And it'll probably be a short-term contract, a couple of years, give a bit of competition to a doggy, hopefully be able to give a doggy a rest if he's still on number one left back. And he's still quite competent. I know he hasn't been at his best this season, but he also has put in some good performances. He's not completely finished. So I'm not too unhappy about it. I wouldn't say I'm very excited about it, but I can see the logic. He'd be on a free. He gives a good mentality and experience. As I said, I think if we were in Europe, I think it makes less sense.
Yeah, look, I think it's just giving, Robertson coming for one last payday, really. That's, you see a lot of value for him coming to Tottenham. But I saw the sense of it bringing him in from kind of January till the end of the season, with giving us the experience that we need. But, looking forward to next season, the year after, I see pros and cons to it. Obviously, the pros could be like he's warming the seat for Sousa until he's ready, and you send him out on loan for a year or two, and if he gets more used to European football, comes back and he's really ready to fight Destiny Doggy for that spot. And also, I do think he's looked pretty decent this season, and I think at times he's looked better than Kirkes, really. And particularly in the latter stage, in the last few weeks, ever since we've been linked with him, I think his performances have actually got a bit better. So that's the pros, but obviously the cons. He's 32 years of age. Just because he's been good this season doesn't mean he'll be good next season. That decline could happen quite rapidly with Robertson. Going to be 33 next season. I would prefer to go for someone younger, more hungry, with a future. I don't know how I feel about it, really. I really don't know, because I don't know if he's going to, there's only one way for Robertson, that's down.
Mm-hmm.
You know, next season he'll probably be worse than he is this season. The season after he's going to be worse than he is next season. So, yeah, I feel like we could bring him in and maybe we'll get an initial few performances out of him, but by the end of the season we'll probably be sick to the sight of him.
Yeah, hopefully it's a short-term deal, as you said. I agree. I think in a perfect world, I don't think we go for him. We go for somewhere else. But you got to remember, next season we're starting with our stocks are very low, aren't they? We're not going to have we're not going to be viewed as a great destination for a lot of players. We're going to have to kind of be smart in the window. Maybe they see him on a free as an easy win, a bit of competition for a doggy, and just a short-term deal that plugs a bit of a gap in terms of we need another left back, and he kind of just fits the bill. So I kind of understand it. I think, as you say, it's not like one that you look at and thinking, wow, it's like we're really set up for the future, because it's very much, as you say, he's only going to get worse probably in the next 2 years. So signing him now is a bit frustrating, but I kind of feel like in the position we're in, it does make a bit of sense. As I say, I think if we were in Europe, I would say don't do it in a weird way, but because we're out of Europe, I think it makes a bit more sense to do it.
You're also looking at it as well. It's like Andy Robertson. If we're out of Europe, which we are going to be next season, he's going to have less game time. Mm-hmm. If a doggy's going to be fit, or usually doggy would be our first choice call. So to have him just to come off the bench is not exactly the worst thing in the world, but it just stinks of a club signing, doesn't it? It just stinks.
Well, we know it is, because we wanted him before Deserby.
Exactly. So why are we progressing with these club signings now? Why say we're in pole position now? Why not wait till the summer and see what actually targets we can get, or put feelers out for different targets that we can get now? Why go for Robertson? I just don't get it, really. I think we should be going for a better left back than Robertson, and I think there's probably better left backs than we can get. Mm-hmm.
I agree, but I think at the moment, I'm guessing the budget's going to be a bit tighter in the summer than we'd like, and you've got to kind of compromise somewhere. This is probably where we are compromising.
Yeah, well, this is Tottenham, isn't it?
Always compromises with Tottenham.
Always compromises. We compromise when we're in the Champions League. So
everything's a compromise.
Last but not least, Roberto De Zerbi has been speaking on NBC, did a really good interview yesterday. And there's just one quote I brought up from it, saying he's talking about Romero. And he says, I think Kuti is crucial for us, crucial for Tottenham as a club. He's the captain. He is maybe the most important player in our squad. And to achieve our goal, we need the best of Romero. So some big words there from Roberto De Zerbi.
I think he's spot on. I think he probably looks at Romero and thinks he's the kind of character I want. He's the kind of, people have this constant discussion about Romero. Is he a guy who isn't the kind of character you want in the dressing room? Is he a troublemaker? Is he a guy who's kind of has ulterior motives, pushing to leave, always causing trouble, making statements, causing unrest? Or is he a winner with standards, and when those standards aren't met, he gets disgruntled and so he only wants what's best for the club? And is he the guy you want on your side when things are against you, or if you're going for something big and you want to be challenging, you want him on your team? I think De Zerbi probably sees him that way. I think Ange probably saw him that way. I think probably Frank sees him the other way. And in terms of, Frank had those discussions about him about setting standards, and then he was late and all this kind of stuff, and he didn't take to Thomas Frank, I think, at all. So I think it depends how you look at it. I see him as a very important member of the squad when his mind's right and he's focused and he's completely bought into what's happening. I think he is probably our best player and probably the most important player we have, and he has the captain's armband, and I do think he's got the potential to kind of drive everyone up. But we haven't seen that anywhere near enough this season, especially probably since January time. It's been really, really well. There was a period, wasn't he, he was saving us, and then probably after that it's been woeful, and he's had too many lapses in concentration, and he's made public statements which argue can cause unrest. So I think he's a very important player. I would love one manager to just get him right, get his head right, get his head screwed on, and get him bought into what we're doing. But as Tottenham fans, we know why he's not, and it's not totally his fault. And obviously, as a captain of the team, you don't like to think of any player really being disgruntled with how things are going, especially with the money they're being paid. And always you want them to give their best or be at their best all the time because they're representing our club. We want the best, what's best for our club, and what's best for our club is every player always giving 100% and always fully focused on the task at hand. But as a fan, we also understand that this club is run by clowns and they're completely incompetent in terms of how they run things. And also, he says he's been lied to at board level about what our ambitions are and all these kind of things. And from a fan point of view, we all understand that. We see that all the time, every year, about how the incompetence of the hierarchy has really let us down time and time again. And the direction we're going is largely down to the hierarchy more than anything else. So it's kind of a difficult situation that we're in as fans judging or looking at Romero. I think a lot of fans have had a lot to say about him, but I really hope at least if he does leave in the summer, let's hope these 7 games, he gives his all, he acts like a captain, and De Zerbi can really get into his mentality and get him playing at his best for these 7 games, and in the summer we'll see what happens. But I think De Zerbi's going to like him. I really do. Yeah,
I hope so. And I think if De Zerbi can get him on side and get him playing, then obviously we've got an unbelievable player there. And I think when things are all right with Cuti Romero, then things are great. But, you need so many kind of things in line for Romero to be all right. And I think like him as a captain so far, it hasn't gone well by any stretch of the imagination. And yeah, there's been mitigating circumstances for that and nothing's gone right this season. Wrong decisions from board level. But like I've said many a time, if you're captain of this football club, you should hold yourself to a higher standard than what he has done this season. And he needs to have his head screwed on more than everyone else. And he needs to push forward and lead by example, which I think he hasn't done for a lot of times this season. So under De Zerbi, now for these last 7 games, hopefully he can whip them into shape and that can happen for the last 7 games. But I find it hard to believe with everything that's gone on this season, with what he's been saying in the press, that he's going to be here next season. I really find it hard to believe. But let's hope for these last 7 games that he can really just do his best and keep us in the Premier League, help keep us in the Premier League.
We know with Romero, we've seen it where, even last season, where in the Premier League he was god-awful, wasn't he? And, he didn't play that much, but there were some games, I remember that Wolves game, he came back in and he was terrible and he's just all over the place. Yet when it came to the Europa League, he was phenomenal, absolutely phenomenal. And when it came to those important games, and he was completely focused, especially look at that final, man of the match, he got player of the tournament. And I think we know Romero, and hopefully he proves it in these last 7 games when it's really crunch time here, that he can really step up. But, people would argue if he'd stepped up before, we wouldn't be in this situation. You could argue that, but let's just hope De Zerbi can get into his mentality. And I think we know Romero can step up when we need him to.
Yeah, he's a big game player and he's a big moments player, but he's not built for relegation battles and to be in this side of the league. And
the club isn't, I don't think.
The club isn't. Not many players in our squad is built for it. But he is the captain and he needs to kind of help drag everyone out of this situation. And like De Zerbi said, he's one of the most important players at the club. And he needs to hold himself to a much higher standard than everyone else does at the captain of this football club. So we'll see how it progresses. He's going to be captain, obviously, for the rest of the season. And we'll see how he hopefully he leads by example now. With Roberto De Zerbi at the helm, because I'm sure De Zerbi's had a long old chat with him to really try and get his head right. Also, The Independent says that the Tottenham players feel that De Zerbi have given them their best coaching in years. I think we've heard that twice this season.
They are going to be Thomas Frank came in. Prime Barca on Sunday. Just you watch. It's interesting. We've obviously heard a lot of this PR kind of stuff coming out since De Zerbi's appointment, and as we discussed it yesterday, it's common you hear this when a new manager comes in. Fresh ideas. Wow, they've been blown away. They said it about all the managers. So I'm not surprised that they've said it. They're saying it now about De Zerbi. I think it's natural for players to kind of get excited about something fresh, especially given how the season has gone, and I think having this fresh approach is going to help. It's interesting listening to De Zerbi talk about what he's been doing with the players, because we've been theorising what he's going to be doing in terms of implementing his style of football. And now we looked at the training session, we're like, okay, clearly he's doing it, right? Press baiting, all this kind of stuff that we saw in the training sessions. But he was asked about it in his press conference and in that NBC interview, and he said he doesn't have enough time to instill too many principles in the team. What he's just pretty much focusing on at the moment is organisation on and off the ball, and just the most important thing is their mentality and getting them out of this situation, getting their heads right. Because I think that is the most important thing right now with these players. I think we see them making so many mistakes. We see them having lack of confidence on the ball. We see them not trying things, playing it safe too often when they've got the ball and missing opportunities, lapses in concentration at the back, mistakes playing out the back as well. So I think mentality is the number one thing. Stop these stupid mistakes and get their confidence up again. And then if we can stay above the relegation zone, keep our heads above water, then I think next season, I think he's going to fully try and instill his way of playing, and that's kind of what he's been saying. And he said as well, like, I'm not doing too much work in build-up at the moment. I don't have the time for that, but I'm doing some basic. He said I'm implementing a few principles here and there. He said a couple principles off the ball, a couple principles on the ball, nothing too crazy. He was even asked about his staff, like he doesn't want to bring too much staff to confuse the players. So I think we're getting our answer there, but it's going to be very interesting to see what is being implemented come Sunday.
Well, just a few principles on the ball is a hell of a lot more than Thomas Frank did.
Absolutely.
So that's going to be interesting to see how it plays out on Sunday. But that is your Tottenham update for today. Let me know in the comment section below your thoughts regarding all those news stories that we did bring you today. Next, we're going to have a look back at De Zerbi's press conference, because I thought there were quite some interesting quotes coming out of the press conference there. I thought he spoke well, really well today, to be honest. And let's go through a few quotes. And first of all, he's talking about if he had a message for the fans. And he says, I haven't any message for the fans. The last game, they were fantastic before the game. The message for my staff and players is that we have to deserve their support because the fans are suffering like us, like the players. There is just one club, one team. The players can change team, but for the fans, the club is unique. We need to make the fans happy with the right football, the right spirit, and the right behaviour on the pitch. So saying the right things there.
I think the most important thing he said there is, I think we've heard a lot from this season from managers and even the club saying, oh, it's all about unity, the fans got to stick together, we need the fans to be the 12th man. But, always saying about the fans need to do this, the fans need to do that. And I'm really happy De Zerbi came out and said, you know what? It's time the players play to deserve the fan support, because they haven't been doing that this season. They haven't deserved the support from fans. Do you think they deserve what we did against Forest? They didn't deserve that. We did it just out of sheer desperation. That's what caused, that massive amount of support when the team bus came in against Forest. We still ended up losing 3-0. But I think we can all agree that I don't think the players or whatever's happened this season they haven't deserved what happened on that game before that game. The fans took it upon themselves to try and do something to try and get some positivity back into this group, because we've been so lacking of it. And I think De Zerbi's absolutely right. He said it in his NBC interview as well. We need to get these teams playing to deserve what these fans are giving us. Because I think the fans, a lot has been said. Frank was saying it as well about the bit of a toxicity in the stands, about how we turn too quickly, all this kind of stuff. I think we've been supportive. I think we've been very supportive in general. And I know we could do more. I think all fan bases could do more. But I don't think a lot of fan bases, given the size of our club comparatively, have gone through what we've been through, especially at home over the last 18 months. 2 wins in the last, where is it? 4 wins in the last 18 months at home. That is absolutely ridiculous. I think if other clubs of this size, if they've gone through what we've gone through, there'll be riots. I really believe that there'll be a lot worse than what we've been doing. And I think in general, every time the game starts, before every game, we are quite supportive, and we do try and do our part. And then what happens is we get continually let down on the pitch, time and time again. There's only so many times you can be let down before, how long can you keep faith and keep giving that extra bit as a fan when you know what's coming? Essentially was what happened. So I'm really glad, De Zerbi, that's the message from him, because I don't want to. I'm kind of sick of hearing managers say, "Yeah, we need the fans. We need the fans to be more supportive. We need unity." Because I think we've been given that more by and large. Yes, there's been moments where, fans booed Vakara and I didn't like that, and there has been some bad moments. Don't get me wrong, but I think by and large we have been quite supportive of this group. We have been trying to do our part, and we've the ones who've been let down by the players time and time again. And I think it's about time, as De Zerbi has said, they earn that support, and they earn it to deserve it.
The time starts this weekend,
Absolutely.
people. Start deserving that support. But regardless, we need to be lining the streets next week.
Yeah, I'm all for it. I think, again, De Zerbi's first game, let's get a TIFO going. Let's show all the support we can. Let's do our part. I don't mind us doing our part. I'm just saying I don't want to hear it from right now from the coaches or the clubs.
Yeah, it should come directly from the fans.
Yeah, because we've heard it from them. We are doing our part. We don't need to hear it from you saying you need to do your part, because we are doing it. Like Frank, he was kind of at points accusing the fans of not doing their part and stuff like that. I'm like, no, I don't want to hear that. I don't want to hear that.
I agree with that. Zerbi already saying that he's feeling the bad luck as Tottenham manager. Well, there's a lot more to come, Roberto. He said, I started with not bid luck. Kudus was in my head as a crucial player, especially for the position, but we have to look forward. I think we have a lot of very good attackers. Kolo Muani, I know is not playing a good season, but he is a good player. Matisse Tell, I wanted at Marseille. Javi is a big talent. Richarlison and Solanke as well. I mean, you probably know better than me. But yeah, interesting that he wanted Matisse Tell at Marseille. I'm not sure if we knew that or not in the January transfer window.
Yeah, I think it was the January just been, wasn't it? He was linked. Obviously, at that point, he was left out of the European squad. And there was a lot of rumours whether he would be in or out. I think just before January, in December time, I think he started to play a bit more, didn't he? And he scored against Bournemouth, and he started to play. So I think that kind of got shoved. Also, we had no players, so we couldn't really afford to let anyone else go. But very interesting to hear that. I think he would have done quite well at Marseille under De Zerbi, and it's interesting to see that he was interested in him. And we know that he had when he was Brighton manager, he had a deal agreed for Kudus as well as another player that he knows very well and wanted at his former club. So hopefully he can get the best out of them. In terms of the Kudus thing, I think we've all been saying Kudus is perfect for what De Zerbi wanted to do.
Have we not heard this story before, though? Because when Frank came in, he was like, he wanted this one, he wanted that one. He had a deal for Brennan Johnson.
Gray as well.
Yeah.
He had a deal agreed, and we gazumped him for both.
Yeah.
And he didn't. Well, he used Gray, I guess, didn't he? But he didn't really use Johnson so much. Didn't like Johnson, Frank. But it's true, we have heard it. So I think the reality is, you can want a player and scout them. You never really know them properly until you manage it, do you?
But I do think this is kind of what we need at this moment in time, is a manager to come in and kind of tell the players how good they are. Mm-hmm. Puff their chests out, give them a bit of confidence. And I think this is what this is going to do.
Yeah, obviously talking about Muani, he's a good player who hasn't had a good season. Let's hope he gives him a bit of confidence. He's going to need him, because I think his versatility right now is very much going to help and going to be needed. It's going to be interesting to see up front, is it Solanke or Richarlison? I do think he's probably going to go Solanke, but it's going to be, I think, it's interesting when a manager has fresh eyes on a situation, on a team, and what they see and what they kind of value in certain players. Is going to be very telling. And I think Sunday, obviously it's anyone's guess. What we can always posit what he's going to go with, but I'm glad he's looking at the attackers and saying, look, we've got some good attackers here. And yes, I think Kudus was a massive miss, but we have enough to score goals, and that's all we need.
Yeah. He's talking as well on any players that surprised him in training, and he said, in the last period I watched a lot of games, especially of Tottenham, and yes, one thing is to watch the game at home, and a different thing is to work with them on the pitch. We have some very big players, very young players, Bergvall, Archie Gray, Matisse Tell, Javi Simmons, but in a way, we have older players that are important, like Mickey van der Ven. Van der Ven is a crucial player for me, like Romero, like Porro, like Solanke. I want to see, again, the same Gallagher I loved at Chelsea time. And I think I am very lucky because I have a big confidence in my players and their qualities. For me, my target is to help them and to play well and to enjoy with the ball, because their characteristics are very clear to me. So again, just talking up these players, trying to give them confidence. He's pretty much mentioned the whole squad at this point about how big they are. I mean, the one player I noticed he hasn't mentioned is Destiny Udogie.
Interesting, he's saying he considers Van der Ven one of the older players, which is mad, because not so long ago he's considered one of the younger players.
Yeah.
But he's right, and I think interesting for me, he emphasised how crucial Van de Ven is. And I think knowing Van de Ven's qualities and knowing how he'll want to try and play the football, Zerbi, we know that Van de Ven, with his pace, is so crucial to making sure that we cut out those counters and we when we're defending and we're not leaving too much space. And we know that he did that under Ange. Obviously, it did cost him his hamstrings on occasion, but he was definitely very good at it. But he probably did it too much. Hopefully, if we can get him doing it a lot less, but still kind of performing a role where he has to make sure that no one's running in behind, but maybe doing it a lot less than we were doing it under Ange, he can maybe get the best of both worlds for Van de Ven. And I think he is very crucial. And I think he has at points he's taken his game up a bit this year. But unfortunately, again, over the last couple of months, he's been terrible and making lots and lots of mistakes. So Van de Ven, again, get his head right. He's a top defender.
Yeah, of course he is. And I think, you're right. Up until halfway point, I think, we were talking about him as our player of the season. We were talking about him as, really taking up his game. We were talking about him as the only player that's really improved under Thomas Frank. And then the second half of the season, he's been dreadful. That's the reality. So I think all this stuff about, talking up these players is a breath of fresh air, because under Thomas Frank, he just talked everything down and talked the club down. And when he spoke about the players as well, he was like, oh, we only have one world-class player in Pedro Porro. And Kuti and Mickey must be looking at that, being, what am I doing here then? I'm a World Cup winner. Mickey, starts from the Netherlands, and they've been both progressing really well. I felt like maybe it was up until that point that was the kind of change in Mickey van der Ven. Maybe that's where Mickey van der Ven started going the other way, because he didn't kind of feel the love of the manager and feel the confidence of the manager. I don't know. I'm just thinking about that right now. But this is so much a breath of fresh air, because he's actually giving these players confidence, where Frank, it felt like he was just breaking their confidence.
Well, every time we lost, it was like, remember we finished 17th.
Yeah.
Remember how bad this squad is. Remember this, remember that. And I don't like managers talking like that. I understand fans like honesty, and fans want a manager to say it how it is. And I think when Conte was here, maybe he did that as well, and stuff like that. But for me, it was just with Thomas Frank, it was always a bit of a defeatist attitude all the time, and he wasn't inspiring confidence. And the way we played was cowardly as well. He set us up like we were an inferior team. And so that definitely got bred into the players, for sure. So for me, I like the way De Zerbi speaks. I like the way he plays. And hopefully the players really take to it quickly.
Yeah. He's talking about why he only brought 2 coaches, and he says it is totally different, this situation, because we have no time to work like in Brighton, and I don't want to put confusion inside of the players. So maybe that suggests that some of these other coaches will arrive in the summer.
Yeah, I think that clears up the questions I had, I think, about why it was only 2, because as I think Ali Gold said in his previous jobs, he's taken 6 or 7 members of staff with him. Yeah, it's only 2 in this time. So maybe it's a case of you don't want to overload these players right now with new information and new things all the time, because I think Zerbi said in his press conference, this is their 3rd manager they've had this season. They've had a lot of changes, and they've already probably looked a bit confused. He just wants to simplify it right now to a few things and not overload these players, and get them some basic organisation on and off the ball. And then next season, maybe we'll see a bit more wholesale changes. And I think maybe as well, what if he proves his worth over the next 7 games, De Zerbi, and we really turn things around and we stay up comfortably, I think he would have earned the trust of the board to say, yeah, just get whatever coaches you want, and we'll buy them. It's no problem. I think that's probably also a part of it. So, yeah, I think that's probably the right thing.
Regardless, they need to bring in some coaches. We've given them a 5-year contract here.
I mean, I would, but let's say if we either stay up by the skin of our teeth or we go down having no signs of improvement, are they going to fund another 6 coaches? I wonder. I
think they have to.
I would. I agree with you, but will they?
I think they will. I think they've put so much trust in him now. I think the thing is with the conversation is De Zerbi's probably said to them, look, we need to just keep it minimal now. We need to work on what we can. Don't want to put too much confusion, like he says. But come the summer, we need to bring in my team, because we've got a big pre-season ahead. He's talking about as well rumours of players wanting to leave, and he says, No, it's not important for me now. We have to push all together, all players and staff and fans inside the stadium to achieve our goal. Then we'll see. I don't want players if they don't want to stay. My contract is for 5 years for sure. I want to say my opinion in the transfer market session because I am a coach, but I want to see the players happy to work in this club. So, yeah, look, it's clear that anyone that's going to want to leave in the summer will probably be granted their wish.
I think so, and I think right now we need, obviously we need a refresh. Obviously we know that with De Zerbi's a new era and everything. If players don't want to be here, that's fine. And at least with De Zerbi at the helm, he knows what he wants. And if we can get some good replacements like a Van Hecker, if we're talking about Romero and Van de Ven leaving, some good replacements, guys who are happy to be at Tottenham and want to be here, who aren't kind of burdened by the past like Van de Ven and Romero in terms of things going wrong or not trusting the board and having these doubts, all this kind of stuff, is what it is. I obviously, in a perfect world, I want Romero and Van de Ven to want to be here and I want them to stay, and I think they're fantastic defenders and I'll try and convince them. But if they don't want to be here, try and get some good money and let's move on. And hopefully De Zerbi, with some good recruitment, can replace them. It's going to be a hell of a job, but you know, we've seen what De Zerbi can do at other clubs with new signings and when he's given good tools. So it gives me a bit more hope having someone like him at the helm to kind of replace Romero and Van de Ven.
He was asked about getting back to the club's DNA in terms of attacking football, and he says, my style is one part the style of play, and a part is about character and personality. I don't have the time for principles or build-up. I want to give organisation with the ball and without the ball. What I want to do and what I want to achieve is character, the right spirit, courage to play and attack. The DNA of this club and the squad is to find the goal to score. I can, in this part, I can be able to transfer my principle. So, I mean, that goes to what we were saying before in terms of what he's going to do from like now until the end of the season. But, you know, everyone harps on about the style of play and the club's DNA and all this kind of stuff. I mean, for me, like, attacking football is great. Everyone, first and foremost, wants to see attacking football, wants to enjoy going to see their club play. But that's not the be-all and end-all for me. Like, the be-all and end-all, like I said, when Thomas Frank came in, is winning football. If anyone brings in winning football, then I'll be a fan of them. But it's nice to see attacking football as well.
Yeah, I think, look, I would argue, I mean, and maybe right now in the Premier League, you can maybe say it's not so true, but I would argue definitely in the last 10 years, attacking football has been winning football. That's been the way that most of the top teams play. They attack, they dominate, they suffocate the opposition, and they try to get dominance. And that is winning football by and large. I don't know why it always has to be kind of one or the other. I do think the best way to win lots of football matches on a more consistent basis is to have your team be more dominant, be more technical, have more possession, and create more chances in the opposition. That is going to be the way. Now, right now, obviously you've got Arsenal at the top of the league with a very mean defence and very good from set pieces and all this kind of stuff. So you could argue, is there a change happening? Is that the way football's going? Do you need to be a bit more pragmatic to really win the big things? I mean, you've still got a lot of top clubs. You know, I know Barca just lost to Atletico, but they play super attacking football. Man City, you know, are up there for the title. They're still PSG. They play attacking football. PSG and Enrique they play very attacking football as well. So I think I would rather try and do it that way than do what Frank was doing, which was quite cowardly, in my opinion. I didn't like that approach to football. Obviously, I want to see my team win. That's the be-all and end-all. But I do believe a more attacking style, obviously with good tactical tweaks and and how De Zerbi plays with the little small details. Everything's very detail-oriented, which I think something Ange suffered with. He wasn't very good in the details. He was just very good with the bigger picture stuff and how he wanted his team to play in the bigger picture. But when it came to the small details, I think he was lacking in that for sure. And that definitely was one of his downfalls. I think De Zerbi is extremely good in the details and he's very detail oriented. So I think that's going to help him. But I think he's going to bring attacking football, not because I don't think he wants to just play attacking football because he likes it. I think he's going to play attacking football because he believes that's the best way to win, best way to get results. And that's why he's going to bring it in.
Yeah. He was asked about why he chose to join Tottenham now instead of waiting for the summer. And he says, why now? Because it depends on the angle you look at the situation from. From my perspective, it was a big opportunity. Tottenham is one of the most important clubs in the Premier League. The Premier League is the best league in the world. I love the qualities of the players. We have a lot of specific players for my style. Then there was the crucial part. There was 12 days before the first game. For me, it was important to have more than 1 week. I thought it could be important to understand the problems. I don't want to give too many instructions on the pitch if we are speaking about just the football, but our organisation with the ball and without the ball, I hope in 10 days to reach the target for me. Which is interesting.
It interestingly mentions this gap because obviously we're theorising with Tudor and stuff when he could be sacked and if a new manager would come in. I always kind of earmarked this international break because I knew we'd have a big break here. I didn't realise that he was thinking like that as well. Maybe that if I am to come in, maybe that's going to be the point. He could be just saying it because obviously an opportunity arose at that point when Tottenham were desperate and gave him a big contract. And he's kind of in hindsight saying, yeah, there's a 12-day break here, and I could have, I was really, I thought I really needed it. But it's interesting to think we kept hearing from him or from the press. He's not interested until next season. He's not interested when always there was a very short turnaround in games. But all of a sudden, when there's this big break, all of a sudden he's a bit more open to it. So maybe there's some truth to it. What was left out that quote was right at the beginning of the press conference. He said, I want to thank V9 Lange for showing so much trust in me and, giving me a lot of trust for this project. And I think that's pretty much him saying the trust he means by 5-year deal, third highest paid manager in the league. Obviously, well remunerated.
That's the first black mark against De Zerbi's name, thanking V9 Lange.
There you go. I don't want to hear that. But yeah, I think obviously it's nice, good words. He's trying to get the fans on side. He's trying to give out a good message. But I think at the end of the day, he's here because we gave him an extremely one-sided deal.
Yeah. De Zerbi again reiterated that he'll be here next season no matter what. He says, anyway, if I sign my contract in April, I have to be ready to stay no matter what next season. Mm-hmm. So that's positive. And finally, he was talking about whether he could be here for a long time after signing that 5-year contract. And he said that I stayed for 3 years in Sassuolo, and then I left from Ukraine when the war started. In Brighton, I left with a different problem, and in Marseille, maybe the same. I would like to stay for 4 or 5 for a long time. I don't know how many years. But in Marseille, like this, because in Marseille, my idea was to stay for a long time. Then you have to speak to the club, and when you have a different view of football or other things, you have to leave money and have to leave. But in my plan, for sure, there is an idea to stay for a long time, to try put Tottenham, I'm not speaking about titles because it's not the right moment now, but to put Tottenham to stay in first position in the Premier League, because there are all parts to reach that level. So it's interesting. He says he doesn't want to speak about titles, but he wants to speak about Spurs being first in the Premier League.
Who says we're going to stay there? But yeah. Look, I think we've spoken about maybe how his career has been misconstrued as a manager who always blows his top and always leaves under Conte-esque style blow-ups in bad circumstances where it's not necessarily true. And maybe he's trying to correct the record there, explaining, Sassuolo, Shakhtar, it was very different scenarios about what happened there. But there's no getting away from the fact that with Brighton, he did leave after 2 years via whatever. He was unhappy or they were unhappy, mutual unhappiness there. And with Marseille, it did kind of blow up for one reason or another mid-season when things weren't even going that badly when you look at the positions they were in the league. So definitely, there's jury's out on it. But for me, hopefully he can find a home here. Hopefully this is a club that there can be an alignment from the hierarchy, which is rare to find for us. I think in theory, he's a manager who's shown he can overperform with a bit of limited resources. He's a manager who's shown he can play the football the fans want to see. He's a manager who's got Premier League experience and who knows his football can work in this league. And he's a manager who has, the mentality, I think, to lead a big club like Tottenham, which I think other managers maybe, definitely Thomas Frank, just didn't have that mentality, I think, or personality to lead such a big club. So I think there's definitely a lot of things going for him. and this appointment, and hopefully he can fulfill his contract and be here for the long. We can finally find a guy who could be here for the long term. But there are definitely a lot of question marks as well. Definitely before him signing, a lot of question marks about whether it will eventually blow up with the board, whether there will be too many disagreements, whether his football has been caught up with in the Premier League, over the last couple of years when it was revolutionary, and all this kind of stuff, whether he's going to start getting frustrated if his best players are being sold and that kind of thing, and whether he can keep us up as well in the short term. So there's a lot of, pros and cons about the future of De Zerbi, of where we see it. But I think there's definitely more reasons to be hopeful, in my opinion. And I think definitely I felt like when he was first getting linked, and also when he was first getting confirmed, I thought the negative reaction from some fans was way over the top.
Over the top.
And not in regards, I'm just purely from football point of view, I mean. There was a lot of people saying this guy's going to blow up. He's, this is the worst appointment in this situation, all this kind of stuff. And I was looking at thinking, I think he's not giving enough credit for how good of a manager he is. And I hopefully think this could be a really good fit. I mean, there's a lot of reasons to think it might not be, and it might not be. But I think there's also some reasons to think maybe this can last.
Look, I don't think he's a guy that wants to, walk out of the club after 2 years. He wants to build a legacy. He wants to build a foundation. And if he's allowed to do that, and he's very kind of focused on the way he wants to do things, and he doesn't want to bend to a board or bend to anyone to get there. He wants to do it in his own way. And if a club doesn't let him do it in his own way, he'll be out the door. So he's very stubborn in that sense. So it's all about if Spurs let him do it in his way. We all know that the Spurs board haven't let anyone do it in their way, ever. So they're going to need to make a lot of changes to accommodate for Roberto De Zerbi.
You know what? I think we'll learn a lot in the summer in terms of the hierarchy, what happens with especially Lange and the sporting director situation, everything. I think we're going to learn a lot with that in terms of how much their power they're giving De Zerbi and how much he can implement his own project into this club, and if he's going to start getting disgruntled, because if Lange doesn't go, or if he's getting too much power, I think you might see De Zerbi starting getting disgruntled very quickly.
Yeah,
but if we can get De Zerbi to help pick his guy or whatever, and there's a good alignment there, I think maybe we can start being a bit more hopeful.
Mm. But look, all in all, I think it was a good press conference. I think he spoke well. I think it made a few fans excited about what could come if we are to stay in the Premier League, but big work ahead. I like the way he's kind of trying to build these players up, trying to give them confidence. And we'll see. We'll see how it goes these last 7 games. But it starts this weekend against Sunderland, a very tough game. And we'll see how it goes, people. But let us know your thoughts on De Zerbi's first press conference as a Spurs manager in the comments section below. But it is time to look forward to the game this weekend, and we're going to get into our predicted lineup. As we said, De Zerbi has spoken in the press conference, and what is the team news going into it?
Yeah, so for sure, we know Vicario, he's out, still recovering from his hernia operation. Bentancur, he is out because of he's still recovering from his hamstring. Mohamed Kudus, we know, was set to be back for this weekend, and he suffered a major setback, so he's going to be out for the season, alongside Davis, Odegaard, Maddison and Decky, who are still long-term absentees. Maddison, though, getting closer and closer, so maybe we'll start seeing him soon, but not yet. And Pape Matar is back in training, but his shoulder is heavily strapped, so whether he's going to be fit for the weekend or if he's going to be available to play remains to be seen. So that is the state of play. Still a lot of injury problems to contend with, and only really we've got Vicario and Bentancur there, and maybe Maddison, who we'll see before the end of the season.
Yeah. So it's going to be interesting. I mean, we're going into the unknown here. It's a first game under the new manager. We don't really have enough wingers to play the winger system. Is he going to go with that kind of 4-2-3-1? I kind of think he's probably going to go with a 3-5-2 or a 3-4-3.
Yeah, I don't know. I don't really know. Is he going to go with a back 3, or is he going to go the back 4? What was our last game? It was Forest. We played a back 4 that game, didn't we?
Mm-hmm.
Now he's saying he doesn't want to overcomplicate it. So is he going to go with a formation the players are more used to, Or is he going to...
But what formation are the players
that's also a great question because we've played a lot of different formations this season. So we have played a back three a lot. We have played a back four a lot.
For me, not overcomplicating things is putting square pegs in square holes, putting players in their best positions. And I think the only way we can do that is to not play wingers because we don't have any.
Yeah. I think... I've got a feeling he will go back four, but I think it probably makes more sense to go with the back three with the players available. I don't know. I mean, okay, let's go with...
What makes you think he's going to go for a back four?
Because I think he's just going to use one of Moani, or I think maybe Moani will play on the wing, and then he'll keep Javi there, Tell, and one of Richarlison and Solanke in their preferred position, and maybe put Moani there on the wing. That's what I think he's probably going to do. But he could go back three, and maybe either 3-4-3 or 3-5-2.
He's used back three plenty of times in his career.
I know, he's not adverse to it. Not adverse to that either. So he could do that. He could very easily do that. But is he a 3-4-3 or 3-5-2?
My opinion, 3-5. Yeah. Oof. I don't know. If it's a 3-4-3, then Javi could be in that kind of little left pocket, which he likes to play in. If it's a 3-5-2,
then where does that leave Tell?
Well,
on the right pocket,
sometimes, maybe on the right pocket. Maybe not even in there at all. I don't know.
I think he's going to have to play Tell, isn't he?
Why is he going to have to play Tell?
Who else is he going to play?
He's got plenty of players he can play in those positions.
But, he said he liked Tell. He wanted Tell at Marseille. I think he's probably the only attacker right now who's showing anything.
He's also spoken up Moani, spoken up Richarlison, spoken up Solanke.
Yeah. I think he does start Tell. But anyway, look. Let's go. So what are we going for? What formation are we going with? 3-5-2?
Yeah, I think so. 3-5-2. So in goal, we know for sure.
Yeah, that one we know.
Antonin Kinski. He's definitely starting.
5-2-2. What? No. 3-5-2. Yeah. So Kinski, he's going to get another nod. Let's just hope there's no more mishaps. And he knows definitely straight away he's going to be getting it from the Sunderland fans. They're going to be putting him under pressure to make a mistake. So he's going to have
it's up to his mentality.
That mental solidity in his mind.
Yeah.
But look, we know he is a calm character. I know he shat himself in Madrid, but we also know he made his debut in a Carabao Cup semi-final against, at the time, the best team in the league with like a few days training.
Yeah, and he was brilliant.
So let's hope he shows his mentality in this game.
Yeah. In the back three, I think Romero and Van der Ven for sure. Well, I think it will be Danso, Romero, Van der Ven.
I think definitely Romero, Van der Ven. So the question is, if he's going to go this system, does he do what like Tudor did with Porro and play him at centre back and build up?
I think he keeps Danso in there, to be honest.
Because I think he's going to want more technicians. Well, I guess because if we're playing Danso there, then we're saying Porro right wing back.
Yeah, Porro right wing back.
Okay, I've got a feeling it will be Porro right centre back.
No, I don't think so. I think he knows Danso's got a good mentality on it, and I think that's what he's favouring right now at this moment in time.
Okay, so on the left we're going to go with Doggy.
Yeah, definitely.
Definitely over Jed, we're thinking.
Yeah, 100%.
Hasn't really been at his best since coming back from injury, though, has he?
No, but I think it's because he's been lacking
yeah.
match practice, and I think now he should be fully fit by now. He's had 3 weeks to work on his fitness. Didn't go away with Italy either, I don't think. So he's been at the training ground. He's had probably the longest to work with out of anyone on that pitch than with Roberto De Zerbi. So I think Destiny definitely coming in there.
So he's saying it like this?
Yeah. Yeah, exactly like that. In the midfield, I think it's going to be Gray Bergvall.
Definitely Gray. So what are the other options? You got Bergvall, you've got
Bissouma, Sarr,
Gallagher,
Paulinia.
Was talking up Bert Gallagher a lot.
He's spoken up everyone.
Yeah, but there's some plays he put emphasis on, and some plays he just mentioned. I want to see Graham Bergvall. That's what I want to see.
I think it will be.
I've got a feeling it's going to be Gallagher in there.
Nah, I don't think so. I think Graham Bergvall in the 10. I think it'll be Javi.
Javi in the 10.
Yeah, and then up top, I think it's probably going to be, I think Solanke for sure. He's mentioned Solanke a few times about being a really important player for us. And then alongside Solanke, you're looking at one of Muani, Tell or Richarlison. He has talked all three of those up in the press conference. I kind of get the feeling it will be Richarlison over the other two. I wouldn't be surprised if Muani, though. He did say Muani is a good player, but it's not having a good season. So I think it'll be Richarlison.
I wouldn't be surprised if it's Tell. I think he really likes Tell. Oh, it's a tough one. It's a tough one. All right, let's go. Let's go for Richie then. Like that. God, it's anyone's guess, isn't it? What
it could be anything.
What are the chat thinking? Do we think he's going to go 3 at the back? Is he going to go 4? What are you guys thinking? Because we're really, it could be anything. It really could be anything. It could be back 4, back 3, 4-3-3, 4-4-2. It literally could be any formation. Because it's his first game. It's good. It could be a double pivot of like Bissouma and Gallagher instead of Gray and Berg. It could be. It could be a front two of Moani and Tell instead of Solanke and Richarlison. It could literally. A lot of people saying back 4. A lot of people saying back 4-2-3-1. It's so hard to predict. Says Gary Off says 4-3-3 or 4-2-3-1. Back to basics 4-2-3-1.
Yeah, look, I would agree if we had a right winger, but we don't have a right winger.
Yeah, but you could play Moani there. You could play Tell there and someone else on the left.
Who?
Moani.
So only Moani and Tell are the only
options. You could play Javi
really
on the left. You could play Richarlison on the left. He did say Rishi can play multiple positions.
He did say that, yeah.
So you could do that. 8-1-1, says Ashton White. Not sure about that.
Yeah, Thomas Frank ain't here anymore, people. Look, it's a predicted lineup. It's a prediction. If we get it wrong, we'll get it right the next time. Because after this game, we'll have a clear idea, I think, how he's going to go. But I think, look, this is what we're going to go for this game, this weekend. We've got Kinski in goal, a back 3 of Kevin Danso, Kuti Romero, Mickey van der Ven, Porro right wing back, a Doggy left wing back, Gray, Bergvall and Javi in the midfield with Solanke and Richarlison up top. And I think that gives us more than enough options going forward. I really think it does against a Sunderland team, which you know are going to sit deep. You've got 2 strikers there. You've got a 10 in behind them. And you've got a Doggy and Porro who are really going to be supporting the attack with Bergvall and Gray getting up and down the pitch as well. So I quite like this team to face Sunderland this weekend.
Yeah, it's decent. I think in build-up, I don't know if Porro, if he's playing at wing. I know he was a wing back at Sporting, but I think if he's going to play a wing back, I think he brings Spence in and plays Porro a bit further back, because I think Spence gives him that little bit more of an outlet, and I think Porro is going to be very useful in build up as well because of his technical ability, and I think that he values that a lot. So I think he would do that, in my opinion. But I do like this team. I like. There's physicality and good ability at the back. There's good ability out wide as well. And there's a lot of threats up front, especially if we are whipping crosses in. But how many crosses are we going to whip in under the derby?
But also, you're looking at that team, there's technicians all over the park. You've got Romero at the back. You've got Archie Gray and Bergvall and Javi in the middle. You know? You've got Porro on the right-hand side. You've got technical ability in a lot of areas of that pitch.
It's true.
So, look, that is the lineup that we're going to go for. If this is the lineup, what is your first score prediction under Roberto De Zerbi?
I am going to go 1-1. I think it's going to be a game where I think, given that De Zerbi's come in, fresh set of eyes, I think there will be a bit of a breath of fresh air. So I think we are going to come out flying a bit, I reckon. And I reckon we're going to take a lead early and we're going to look super confident. And then I reckon we'll probably miss a few chances to go 2-3 up. We'll get frustrated. Sunderland will get back in the game. They'll get a goal in the last 20 minutes or so. Because we didn't kill the game off. And then I reckon we'll probably have to hang on for the last 20 minutes for a draw because Sunderland will have taken a bit of momentum. And we'll probably come out of this game thinking draw is a decent result, but could have been 2-3-0 up in the first half an hour or something. That's what I think probably is going to happen in this game.
Is a draw a good result, or does it depend on what happens tonight for you?
Definitely depends. If West Ham win tonight, draw's not a good result. That's the reality. And West Ham are likely to win. So I'm really hoping and praying, obviously, they don't, because I think going into this game knowing we need a win puts even more pressure on us, and we're not good at dealing with pressure at the moment. If West Ham fail to win and we go into this game knowing even if we don't win, that we're still outside the relegation zone, I think that kind of little lift of pressure could lead us actually winning the game. But I think because West Ham are going to win tonight, probably, it could add pressure.
You're predicting them to draw?
Yeah, I did put it into draw, but they are still more likely to win than not.
They're favourites for the game, yeah.
Yeah, they're favourites.
Look, I'm going 1-1 as well. And I think a draw will be a decent result away at Sunderland and potentially back that up with a bit of confidence with a win against Brighton at home next week. But yeah, I agree. I think Spurs will probably come out of this trap strong, dominate the possession, which, Sunderland will... That's how they play. They play without possession and try and hit you. They'll be sitting back. They'll be looking to frustrate us, and the onus will be on us to break them down. And I think it's going to be an interesting way to see how this all pans out. But I do think, we'll come away with a draw probably. A win would just be fantastic. To go away with Sunderland, De Zerbi's first game, to get a win away at Sunderland, that kind of just sets the tone, doesn't it, for the last 6 games of the season?
Definitely. I think if we get that win straight out the back, considering we haven't won since December, haven't won in 2026. The stats are horrendous in terms of we've gone over 100 days without a win. I read a stat the other day. The gap in between seasons is 90 days, and we've won 100 days.
It's mad, isn't it?
So it's absolutely crazy. So if we can get that monkey off our back straight away, I think the confidence is going to be flying from this team, and I reckon we can stay up comfortably. Yeah,
look, I don't think it's beyond all realms of possibility that we can go there and win. I know it's fanciful thinking when you haven't won in 2026 and, the run that we're on, over 100 days since our last win. But you're looking at this Sunderland team, they're actually on a run of 3 defeats in a row at a Stadium of Light. Like, there was
Don't do that, Dr. Tottenham.
No, but 4 games ago for Sunderland, they were unbeaten at home, and they were on such an amazing run. Nobody could go to the Stadium of Light and get a result, and now they just can't buy a win. They can't. So it's never a good time for Tottenham to play anyone because of Dr. Tottenham and everything like that. But if you take that out of the equation, it's actually a really good time to go to the Stadium of Light.
If you take out our DNA from us, if we change Tottenham's DNA, then maybe we got a chance. Yeah, I agree with you. I just think it would be a brilliant achievement from De Zerbi if he can get a win.
Yeah. If we could keep it tight at the back and just limit them, they don't score many goals, Sunderland. Mm-hmm. And I think we've got enough quality to hurt them the other way and score a goal or two. So I think there's a good chance of Spurs winning this weekend. I've just trying to temper expectations to go for that draw. And that's why I predicted a draw. But it's not beyond all realms of possibility, and it's not completely deluded to think Spurs can go and win this weekend.
Don't tell Danny that. Don't tell Danny that. All right, are we into the preview?
We're in it, people. We're in it.
The preview. No, as who was it who said it? I've lost the comment, but someone said they are off the back of a Northeast Derby victory, aren't they?
Yeah.
So will their tails be up going into this game? We know that the whole majority of the season, they have had obviously a lot of ups and downs, but they've been quite consistent in how they've played for a lot of the season. Resolute, very tough to beat, a very strong physical team. So we know that we're probably going to go there. They're probably going to give us possession. They're probably going to give us the ball, and they're going to say, "Look, break us down. and we're going to try and hit you in transition. We're going to try and hit you on set piece. We're going to try and hit you on the counter. That's probably how this game's going to go. Will they? I mean, they could come into this game smelling a bit of blood, thinking, "Look, you've been rubbish this season, and we're just going to go for you." But I don't think they will. That's not in their nature.
I just think,
although a lot of teams do go for us nowadays.
I just think Sunderland are a bit on the beach at the moment. I think they know they're not going down. They know they're probably not going to get Europe. Their form has completely dropped off a cliff. I know they had that win against Newcastle, but that game meant a lot to them. None of the other games meant anything to them. They're settled in mid-table, and that's it for them. Like, they've got nothing else to play for.
Yeah, I mean, they are 6 points off fifth. So,
Yeah,
I mean, if they have a good run, they could surprise everyone.
But, I mean, just look at their results. Before the Newcastle game, they lost at home to Brighton. They lost in the Cup to Port Vale. They lost to Port Vale. They beat Leeds 1-0.
They were lucky in that. I remember watching that game. They were very lucky to win that game.
They drew with Port Vale were lucky to win the game.
No, I'm saying when they beat Leeds.
Oh.
Sunderland were lucky.
They drew with Bournemouth. They lost at home to Fulham. They just about beat Oxford in the FA Cup. Lost to Liverpool. Battered by Arsenal. Beat Burnley. Lost to West Ham. So they beat Crystal Palace, and then before that they went winless for like 5 games when they beat Newcastle. Before that, so they've got not many wins. I know more than us, granted, but still not many wins in the last like 2 or 3 months.
Yeah, don't get me wrong, they're very beatable. They're very much a beatable team, but we are very beatable. So it's tough to look at teams and say, they're not doing so well when we are in the form we are in. So any kind of you have to look at it thinking, we have been that bad, it would take something major. And I think it's fair to say, before De Zerbi got appointed, we were all getting to a point where we were resigned that we were going to go down. That's how bad things had gotten.
Yeah.
We didn't see how we were turning this around. So it is not going to be easy for De Zerbi to come in and turn this ship 180 very quickly. I mean, Thomas Frank described it as turning an oil tanker, turning this club around. And De Zerbi's going to have to change it all around in 7 games to get us trying to get results. If he can do it within 1 game, that would be unbelievable. It's still going to be a tall order, though, considering they're a much more settled team. They're going to come into this with a bit more confidence after beating Newcastle. And they do have good players. I know they got promoted last season, but they had a great transfer window. They've got players now like Xhaka and in the midfield, Mukiele, Gertruda, like some proper good like European level players in their team. So they're not going to be scared of us. We know that. They're going to come into thinking they're going to win. They're going to be their mentality. And I think most teams at the moment are coming into games against Tottenham confident. They know that if you need a team to turn your form around against, it is Tottenham. That's reality. That's what we've proven. And they're going to come into thinking Tottenham, as long if you rough them up a bit and you get the opening goal, they'll fold and they'll crumble. And that's what we've shown over the last whatever.
That is true.
We have to prove them wrong. That's on us.
Yeah, and that's true. And under Tudor and under Frank, that was completely spot on. But I'm hoping that all the PR that we've seen spun from the club and spun from journalists over the last week is that they've seen this as a breath of fresh air. They love working under De Zerbi. De Zerbi's been speaking them up in the press, something that they haven't had all season. I'm hoping they come into this with a bit of a point to prove and a bit of confidence.
I mean, that could all be true and we could still lose.
Yeah, of course.
That's the reality. So to get Tottenham playing in a certain... Because I think when you've looked at Tottenham this season, it's not just been like... I understand the players are low and confident and everything, but you just watch us play. Like, we are so bad on the ball this season. Our build-up has been horrendous. We've barely strung... For months now, we've barely put a move together at all in the.
But it's also been instruction from the manager.
Don't get me wrong. Yeah, of course, it comes down to coaching. But for De Zerbi to change all of that in such a quick space of time is a hell of a kind of ask. And obviously, we need him to do it.
Yeah,
but it is. But I'm saying to do it in time to break down or comfortably beat a good team like Sunderland. Is a very big ask, and I would say it's unlikely even. And he might maybe he's that good and that talented, De Zerbi. He can get a team in 10 days to play a certain way of playing to beat a team like Sunderland, even with a playing staff of players who have barely won a game who haven't won a game for 2026 and have won, 2 in 22 games. Like, maybe he's that good, but
attacking football and actually passing to a right man is not exactly alien to. It's been alien to them this season because of the way Thomas Frank and Igor Tudor has set us up.
Agreed.
But it wasn't very long ago where we were playing attacking football and winning football matches.
Yeah, but it took a bit of time to get. I mean, it took a whole pre-season to get that into the players.
Not really. After the first game, we were playing attacking football, and it looked like Ange had his principles laid out from the. Yeah, that's fine. We lost the game in a pre-season against West Ham, but I'm saying the principles of the team and us playing attacking football. I don't think it will take long to instill in these players.
And that's not my point. I'm sure we will see the principles on Sunday. My point is winning. My point is are we going to be doing it to such a standard we'll win the game? That's obviously we don't know. Maybe it's good enough that we will win. We'll just go there and blow them away and we'll win the game. Or just even
we won't blow them away.
Well, maybe not blow them away, but even grind out a win, having played some good football. I would love that. I would absolutely love that. I'll be jumping for joy if that happens. I'm not expecting that on Sunday. I'm expecting to see some green shoots of De Zerbi ball, a lot more fight, the players to play with a bit more fresh air. But ultimately, it's still going to be very difficult to beat a decent Sunderland team. It's going to be very difficult. So, I think we should definitely because I want to temper expectations in the sense that if people think if we don't win, that means all this stuff about that means he's a bad manager. All this stuff about the players being excited, it's all nonsense, all rubbish. Look how they played, all this kind of stuff. It might go wrong on Sunday. We might make a lot of mistakes because they're playing out the back, and we're still trying to get to grips with playing this football again. That's all very, very possible going into Sunday. So I think it's going to be very interesting. I mean, come the game, as I said before, we're just in the unknown right now. It could go either way. We could be world beaters, where just ready and waiting for the game to kick off, or it could be like we're really struggling to get to grips with De Zerbi's football, and it's going to be an absolute mess on Sunday, and it's going to be like the first 30 minutes of Atletico. It could be that way as well. It's going to be very, very interesting. But I think right now, at the bare minimum, I think there's excitement again about Tottenham.
And I think that's what it's about. And I feel like these players are going to be raring to go.
Yeah.
I really believe that. And I think we're going to see a decent... I'm not going to say Spurs are going to be unbelievable. We're going to blow I don't think that's going to happen. But I think we're going to see a positive performance from Tottenham Hotspur. Whether that yields a win, a loss or a draw, I don't know. I mean... I can't sit here and say 100% we're going to win, but I'm hoping for a win. And this is probably the most positive I felt about a Spurs game in a while. And that's probably because I haven't seen Spurs play in 3 weeks. And probably because we finally got an attacking manager through the door. So
absence makes the heart grow fonder.
Exactly. So I'm just excited to see Spurs play again. But to be fair, I was like that with Thomas Frank as our manager as well.
It's a bit like, they say about football players who are injured, their stocks are never higher when they're out injured for a long time. It's a bit like with Spurs, our stocks are never higher than when we haven't played a game for 3 weeks. All of a sudden, actually, maybe we are decent. It's like we've completely forgotten how bad we've been. Barry's calling me. Does he want to get in on the preview? What's going on here?
Barry.
Should I answer?
He just probably wants to know if you're coming for dinner later.
Should I get his prediction? As I say, I think we have to remember, as much as there is excitement, and I'm excited what De Zerbi's going to bring, we can't just forget how bad we've been up until this point, and let's hope he can turn it around. But the reality is... But
we can try to forget how bad we've been without mentioning it every 5 minutes and see what De Zerbi can do.
I hope the players forget it, and I hope that I hope this is a new clean slate now for everyone, and we're just... this is it now, but we can really turn it around. But the reality is we have to contend with the fact what we have been saying is still true until this point. There's a good chance we've left this too late.
Yeah, 100%. 100%. But I just want to go into it hoping for the best. And, if the worst happens and we lose, then we go again next game against Brighton.
As Laprenti says, West Ham are playing tonight. How much of a bearing does tonight's result have on Sunday, do you think?
I think it's significant. It's definitely significant. However... Look, first and foremost, if we lose tonight, we go into the relegation zone for the first time in 18 years, which is crazy.
The West Ham win, yeah.
Yeah, if West Ham win tonight. But I think
since Juan de Ramos.
Yeah. So I think if West Ham win tonight and we draw tomorrow and we go into the relegation zone, it's obviously really bad, but I don't think it's like completely detrimental to our season. I still think there's still time to turn it around. So I'm not looking at it being like, all right, if we drop into the relegation zone, it's just like, wow, we're already down. And, you know, I think there's going to be a lot of panic in the fan base. And don't look at your X feed, because I think that's going to be an absolute bombshell. But
people have got the drafts ready already. Tottenham into the relegation.
Exactly, and I think it's going to be more of a story from the fans than it actually is. I know it's 6 games to go and it is very significant, but I still think there's going to be so many twists and turns from now to the end of the season. I think if we drop into the relegation zone, it's not detrimental, and I think we can turn it around.
Yeah, I said I wouldn't be surprised if at some point we are in that relegation zone. Doesn't mean we're definitely going to go down, and it's still going to be very tight. Even if after this weekend it does happen, we are in the bottom 3. There will be panic, but hopefully within that dressing room, we need to stay calm, and hopefully De Zerbi can keep them calm and say, look, I've only been here for a game. I know we've dropped into the bottom 3, but there's 6 games to go, and we can definitely still stay up. It's not beyond us to stay up from this position. We're only going to be, even if let's say we lose and they win, what will be the gap? 2 points. So it's still very much, you can turn that around.
Yeah, in one game.
Very quickly. So it would be scary, don't get me wrong. A lot of people have said if we go in it, we're not going to come out.
I disagree with that. I don't think we're getting relegated this season. Whether we drop into the relegation zone this weekend or not. I've been saying that for a long. I said that under Igor Tudor. I don't think we're going to be getting relegated this season, and I stand by it. And I think we got a better chance now to stay up than we had when we had Igor Tudor. So I think as the season progresses, as these next 7 games progresses, I think we're going to get better as the games wear on, rather than get worse. So even if we don't win in our next 2 to 3 games, I still think there's a big chance of us beating this thing.
Yeah, I guess the real panic sets in is if West Ham win and we completely shit the bed, like we lose badly.
Yeah.
And then all of a sudden you're like, oh my God, how are we going to turn this around? But we just need to hope that what bringing De Zerbi in can just completely change the mindset of these players, because I think they've been playing with the weight of this pressure at the moment. I think we heard it from Bruno after the game against Forest. He said in the second half, the weight of the game just took hold of the players and they couldn't cope with it. And you know, we ended up losing that game badly.
But it also counted on the tactical decisions that he made during that game, Igor Tudor against Forest.
Yeah, I mean, you definitely can put blame on that as well. I'm just saying that was, you know, part of his assessment is the weight of the game. You know, we crumbled under it.
I think he crumbled under it as well, and obviously he had other things going on that were bigger than that. So, look, it's all about what happens now, and everyone's dressing up as a Tottenham v West Ham thing, and you know, we can drop into the relegation zone at the expense of West Ham, who can jump out of it. But there's other teams in this as well at play. The league is not decided after this weekend. There's 7 games to go, so it's like 7 massive games now. And if we drop into it, we drop into it. We'll get out of it hopefully in a couple of weeks' time.
If we can get a win, man.
Yeah.
The lift in the camp is going to be incredible. It'll be so different, and we just need to see, as you know, 7 opportunities, 7 cup finals, whatever you want. There's 7 massive games coming up. Absolutely massive.
Yeah, and I know what everyone's saying behind their computer screens right now. Oh, he's always so positive before we play, and it's all going to come crashing down.
He's
and all
got one of those funny feelings.
But look, it's got to come true at least once. At least once, please.
Couldn't even
Tottenham.
finish a sentence. The question is, how strong is your funny feeling this weekend? If you've got a funny feeling meter, where in the scale is it?
I don't think it's a funny feeling, because I think that...
It's just logic, mate.
Yeah, it's just logic. It's no funny feelings. The funny feelings only happen when you're, desperately the underdog. I don't think we are this weekend.
We're not the
interesting
underdog.
to see. No, I think we're the underdog probably, but just. I think it's probably pretty even.
Yeah, I would say Sunderland are favourites, but what is it?
No, it's dead even.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, it's dead even.
That's surprising.
Yeah.
It's a draw favourite, no. 5. No, it's not.
It's dead even. It's home and away victory on the markets. So there you go.
I've offered you a point now. Are you taking it?
No, I don't think I am. I'm coming for the 3 points this weekend.
Yeah. And we're better away from home anyway.
Yeah, we are better. And look, like I said before, I really don't think it's beyond all realms of possibility that we can go and win. Sunderland, in my opinion, are on the beach. Spurs haven't won a game in 2026, but I think there's going to be some positivity within the camp, the most that there's ever been this season. So
Jack
it's up to
Pack
them to
says,
prove it.
Ben's blind faith really is something. It's something to behold, something to witness.
That's it. Tottenham is ingrained in the heart and ingrained in the brain and ingrained in everything. I'll always back my team until they can't be backed anymore.
Tune in for the watch along as Ben starts to realise how wrong it's going to go.
Yeah, no, it'll come to a point at like 65 minutes, say, what the fuck was I thinking, man? What was I thinking? It's happened a lot this season.
It's happened so much. Before every game, say, yeah, we're going to do it. This is going to be the game we turn it around. And now we're like 3 months later without a win. It's like, why do we keep thinking? Even the North London derby, like, yeah, we're going to win.
I know.
We lost 4-1. It's like, why did we think it was going to be anything else?
Yeah.
Then an absolute drubbing.
But now we actually have a reason to think that it could change because it is a new beginning.
It is a new beginning. It is a new beginning. And he has had 12 days with the players. And there's a lot that I think can change. So let's hope this is it. This is where it all turns around. This is the start of something new.
Look, what would Grandpa be saying right now? Grandpa would be, he would be spreading those positive vibes all over the team right now. And I think that's the way we got to look at it. And I think that's the way we got to be for these last 7 games.
You're right about that.
You're right. Positivity is going to get us through this. Supporting the team is going to get us through this. Negativity, booing, going against your team, berating the team is not going to get us anywhere. So let's spread the positive vibes, let's back the team, and let's go get some wins.
All right, we're going to go up to Sunderland and beat these bastards. Come on.
Come on.
Take no prisoners.
That's what I'm saying. Let's
do it.
So Roberto De Zerbi's Blue and White Army will be marching all the way up, along with Sim. Sim's going to be part of Roberto De Zerbi's Blue and White Army this weekend. I'll be here on the watch along with Super Sai, and we'll be here. So come and join the watch along just before 2 o'clock. Post-match fan show. Come and have your say. I'll be looking forward to hearing all your opinions after what hopefully is 3 points this weekend. But thank you everyone for joining us today. Like, subscribe and comment. And as always, come on you Spurs.